Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Karis May, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander Christine Fay. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors. To commence this evening's ceremony, I invite you all stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of over 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other operations for over more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Joseph Bald. Known to his family and friends as Joe, Joseph John Bald was born on the 10th of April 1896 to John and Ellen Bald of Ringarooma, Tasmania. He was named for an older brother, also Joseph John Bald, who had died at the age of 7 the year before Joe was born. There were 11 children in the family, and Joe grew up in the Scottsdale district, where his father spent most of his working life on the land. Joseph Bald went on to work as a painter. Bald enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force shortly after the outbreak of the war in 1914. He was posted to the 12th Battalion, which participated in the landing at Anzac Cove in the early hours of the 25th of April 1915. The 12th Battalion was heavily involved in the establishing and defending of the front line of Anzac position in the early days of the campaign. Other than a charge for using obscene language to a non-commissioned officer, Private Bald seemed to have an eventful time at Gallipoli. He remained there until the evacuation, arriving back in Alexandria in January 1916. After recovering from a bout of the mumps, Bald rejoined his battalion and was promoted to Lance Corporal just before being transported to France to take part in the fighting on the Western Front. In July 1916, the 12th Battalion participated in an operation to capture French village of Pozières. The operation was successful, but the 12th Battalion suffered heavy casualties. Bald was promoted to temporary corporal following the battle to cover those lost. A few weeks later, the 12th Battalion was again called on to enter the front line near Pozières. Corporal Joe Bald never left. Lieutenant Keith Field later wrote to Bald's parents to tell them of what had happened. It was while he was taking a small party of men out of the trenches on the night that we were to be relieved that he was killed, either from a bullet or a bomb. Death was, as far as I can gather, instantaneous. He added, "For a long time I was in the same platoon as he was, and so knew him rather well. He was one of the most popular lads in the company, and general regret was expressed when it came known that he had been killed in action. Your loss is great, but you will find great comfort in the fact that your son has done his little bit and has laid down his life for the Empire." Corporal Joe Bald's body was either never recovered or his battlefield grave was lost in further fighting. Today he is commemorated on the memorial to the missing at Villers-Bretonneux. He was 20 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Joseph John Bald, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We would like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.